Good evening and welcome along to Matchday Live here on Fox's Hub ahead of Leicester City's Carabao Cup tie away at Manchester United. A place in the quarter-finals is on the line against the side obviously struggling for form at the start of this season. Let's go straight into tonight's team news. We are now an hour away, of course, from kickoff. So let's see what both clubs have done. This is what Steve Cooper has decided to do for the trip up north. He's got Danny Ward in goal, Thomas, Cody, Akoli and Justin across the back four, Skip and Samare in midfield with Decordova-Reid, El Khanous and Casey McAteer supporting Jordan Ayew. On the bench, it's Everson and Didi Winks, Mavididi, Ricardo, Vestergaard, Edouard, Alves and Buenanotte. So very much a mixture really of teams that we've seen this season, both throughout the Carabao Cup early rounds and the Premier League, of course. From a Manchester United point of view, their big change, of course, is in the dugout. Erik ten Hag, since the game at the weekend, losing at West Ham, has been parted company with the club. Ruud van Nistelrooy takes temporary charge this evening before presumably a full-time manager is hired. We don't know when that will be. Could be tonight, could be tomorrow, could be the rest of the week. We're not too sure, but it's Ruud van Nistelrooy tonight. This is the side that he goes for. It's pretty strong. India is the goalkeeper that comes in for Onana. Lindelof, Martinez, De Ligt and Dalot across the back four with Casemiro and Ugarte in the holding roles. Then Garnacho, Fernandes and Rashford, a very attacking front line and very potent front line, support summer signing Joshua Zirkzee. So they're both teams then for the game tonight. We'll get the thoughts of Ewan Roberts and Matt Elliott, who sit next to me on the sofa this evening. Good evening to the both of you.
Evening, Batesy.
2 games in a row, Ewan. It's great to have you back again after Friday.
We've swapped seats, haven't we? Hopefully we'll bring the lads a little bit of luck at Old Trafford. We thought
trying everything.
After Friday, I'll come to this side, let Matt move a little bit further away from you, Dan, and less havoc. So hopefully it works.
Mm-hmm. Come funky tonight, isn't they? Hey, one of the,
I don't smell.
Is it one of the E17 or something like that? Isn't it back in the day?
Well, it's nearly Christmas.
Well,
I guess,
I couldn't get away with that though, could I?
We're nearly at the end of
Just
October.
about carries it off. He's got matching socks and beard, and trousers and teeth, and that's it. I've finished now.
I'll leave you to have a little think and have a go back on that. Here's, of course, Halloween, fancy dress. You can say something
you
about
don't
that.
know. I know we'll get onto the football in a minute. He texted me earlier and say, line up a few comments for you and will you later on for the show.
I know Dan would never do that. I know Dan would never do that.
Right, let's move on very quickly away from this before the studio gets away from me. I think it might already have done so with Matt and Ewan. Let's take a look at what we're going to be talking about over the course of the next hour or so. We'll take a look back at the game with Forest, of course, on Friday. Ewan was here for that one. At half-time, it was looking relatively good, not so much at full-time. We'll hear from Steve Cooper. He's been speaking ahead of this game at Old Trafford, as well as taking a closer look at tonight's opposition, really. Have been in the news, haven't they? It's fair to say, at the start of this week, following that game with West Ham on Sunday, of course. The news of Erik ten Hag going, which we've already covered and we will cover, but it's a chance for both teams, really, isn't it? I guess now you're at the stage of the competition where a win gets you into the quarters where anything can then happen.
Well, you look tonight, Dan, I think there's 5 ties with all Premier League teams. So you're talking 5 Premier League teams are going to be out of the competition at the end of tonight. So if the lads can somehow go to Old Trafford and win the game, there's a great opportunity of going really far in the League Cup. You know, semi-final, final, you never ever know. But obviously we've got to overcome what looks like a really strong starting Manchester United side.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds good, doesn't it? You know, if you win this in the quarterfinals, but still quite a way to that Wembley final, isn't it? And ultimately success. But having said that, as Leicester City's fans know, you just sort of edge by round, and before you know it, you are in a position where you're in with a real shout. And why not? I think particularly, any season really. But I know like the primary concern is staying in the Premier League, but at the same time, doing well in any cup competition, but it's a tough proposition tonight, and up against a very strong Man United outfit. But you never say never. But it would bring huge positivity to the club, and Steve Cooper's all about that as well, isn't he? You know, and try and draw on, you know, as many positives as possible. And a big performance and a victory tonight would be a great tonic for the weekend going forward.
Yeah, and I know we're nearly in November now. The season has been going for a decent amount of time, Ewan, but he's still figuring things out, isn't he? The players are probably still figuring him out somewhat a little bit as well. He's still trying to find what players might work in what positions. We're seeing El Canouse again in the number 10 role tonight, Jordan Ayew up top. It's important that these players get minutes in whatever competition it might be.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we all sort of turned up tonight expecting changes from the game on Friday night against Forest. That's what Steve's gone for. Obviously, there's a massive game coming up at the weekend away to Ipswich. But it is, Dan, you look at Luke Thomas, who was sent out on loan last season to Middlesbrough and Sheffield United. Soumare, he went to Sevilla. You know, he's still hopefully got a future at the football club. This is a great opportunity for him to go and show what he's capable of doing against a good side in a great stadium. You know, great to see Casey McAteer in the side. He could have quite a bit of success tonight playing against Lindelof, who is he a left back? I'm not too sure. You know, he's a naturally right-footed player. I think he's a centre-half more than he plays on the left-hand side of the defence. So it's a great opportunity for him. So it is, you know, go and give yourself every chance of being in that starting 11 for the game on Saturday by playing well.
Yeah, and I think you look, every single player in that starting lineup would back themselves to do well starting in a Premier League game. And they'll all think that there's a case for them to be in that starting lineup at the weekend. I'm sure the manager thinks different, and perhaps, you know, a lot of supporters wouldn't agree that every one of them deserves to start. There's a little bit of a pecking order to a degree when you're looking at selection, but you know, and at the same time, you know, I'm not pretending that Leicester's squad is the absolute strongest in depth or whatever, but there is a little bit of depth there, and that lineup shows it. But you look at every individual on any given day, you know, when they're on top of their game, they would consider themselves, you know, good enough players to be playing at the weekend against Ipswich and not letting the team down. And I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, we actually said that. I can't remember. You were at Walsall, weren't you, on co-commentary before that? We had
but the
Jerry
performance didn't match up
this
those
is the
comments,
point.
to be fair.
Before that game, Jerry and David Nugent, we had on the sofa, and we were saying it's a real chance for the players ahead of the weekend to stake a claim and say, I should be starting on Saturday. That kind of didn't really happen in that game against Walsall. So hopefully we do see something different, because it is a good chance for these players that are maybe on the fringes a little bit. Not all of them. Obviously, there are some players that have played pretty much every single game, the likes of James Justin, Caleb Okoli, who's been playing an awful lot of football. But there are some in there that will say, Bobby De Cordova-Reid, for example, if he plays and scores and does really well tonight, he'll say, well, start me at Ipswich.
Yeah, you want to put yourself in the shop window, Dan. You know, if you're given a chance tonight and you don't take the opportunity, if you don't perform to the best of your ability, then I don't think you've got the right to go knocking on the manager's door when the team is picked for Saturday. If you go out and you play really well, you catch the eye, and you don't get picked for Saturday, then maybe you do go and knock on the manager's door and ask, what more can I do? You know, you gave me an opportunity in a tough place, in a tough environment against a very, very good side, albeit not poor, but not performing to the best of their ability at the minute. You know, I think you have got the right there. But you said a few minutes ago, it's still very early days. You know, Steve's still getting to know his players. You know, he'll learn more on a daily basis. The more he works with them, the players are getting used to his methods and his sort of training ideas and different things, and his philosophy. So it's still very, very early days, and I have to say it's very positive at the minute.
Things are so changeable as well, so quickly in football. You know, on the back, I don't envisage, regardless of what happens tonight, I don't envisage too many changes away at Ipswich at the weekend. But if things don't go as hoped for, or as planned at the weekend, then I think then the next game, there's every chance. If you put in a big performance tonight and through the week in training, then all of a sudden things can swing in your favour pretty quickly, I think. And that's the case throughout the season. I mean, I think you're right, Ewan, when you're saying, and you, Dan, when you're saying, things are still coming together. But even later in the season, when things are established, it's all about players' current form and results, and everything's taken into consideration. You never say never. You've got to remain optimistic all the time, because otherwise your game's going to go downhill itself, and then you give yourself no chance.
See, I'm looking at Luke Thomas tonight. He's already scored at Manchester United, but I'm looking at him. I think Victor Christensen, I think he's out injured, isn't he? Mm-hmm. They played James Justin on that left-hand side the other night, who didn't have the best of games.
Got to back himself, hasn't he?
He's got to look at this.
He scored a wonder goal at Old Trafford.
He did. He's got to look at this as a real opportunity to put himself in the manager's thoughts.
Yeah, and talking about the mood as well, if Leicester win tonight, if they can get through, if it's on penalties or they win whatever, they'll be then bouncing again into the game on Saturday, and if they win that, then almost Friday's kind of forgotten about a little bit, Matt.
Ideal scenario, yeah. There's a lot of work and effort and events to occur, isn't there, before now and that scenario. But yeah, again, talking about remain optimistic all the time. Similarly, as a group, you've got to look at that. Listen, the management and the players are only going to be dealing with tonight and focusing on that. But it's a common statement made. Okay, we're done and dusted with that. We move on to the next. But yeah, of course it does. Build a bit of momentum, a bit of confidence, and you've got to believe that you can change that. I mean, coming back. I mean, what a buzz and a high anyone connected with Leicester City were on after the Southampton game, or while that game was going on. It was unbelievable watching that, and everyone was travelling home happy, etc. through the week, looking forward to the Forest game, and then all of a sudden you got a little bit of a not a reality call, but a little sort of stop things in its tracks a little bit, didn't it? But then you got to go again. So yeah, constantly you're just sort of grinding onwards and keep that optimism, that positivity in the group. And tonight, I mean, listen, a lot of people are going to look at that lineup of Man United's and go, oh, all right, okay. Good job he's rested a few players for the weekend. But those players will not be thinking that. I certainly hope they're not. I'm sure they're not. You've got to go look up at that team and go, do you know what? What a chance.
Yeah.
What a time to beat Man United. Yeah. Manager's not there. There's a changeover. There's going to be a little bit of, not indecision, but perhaps the element of confusion about how they're going to go about things. Strong lineup. Go on, what a night to go and turn Man United over at Old Trafford.
Do you know what makes me wonder, right? If Ten Hag was still there, would he have gone so strong? Because Ruud van Nistelrooy, he's interim manager. We don't know how long he's going to be interim manager for. He might see this as his one chance to really show what a good head coach he is after moving to the club from Holland. He's a Manchester United legend.
Before that,
he'll be disappointed not to be sort of spoken about when they're talking about.
I've managed at the relative top level. Hello.
So I think that's why he's gone really strong, because maybe this is his only the only opportunity that he's going to be that he'll have to be the head coach.
Yeah, we'll talk about Manchester United a bit more in more depth later on as we build up to kick-off. Let's concentrate though on the Foxes, of course, and in terms of changes that have been made. It's 9 from Steve Cooper from the game on Friday evening, which at half-time was looking pretty good at full-time, not so good against local rivals Nottingham Forest.
Inside the box and he's lost possession. Anderson, left of the area, driving into the area. Right-footed shot was blocked by Ricardo, and it's fallen to Yates on the edge of the box, and he scored into the bottom corner. A precise strike from the Nottingham-born midfielder. A goal that will mean so much to him, but it's a hammer blow to Leicester. To his left, quickly into Mavididi, facing up to the penalty area. Winks making a good run, and he squared into Vardy, who equalises for Leicester City to quieten those celebrating Nottingham Forest fans. They're silent. King Power Stadium Stadium is raucous because their main man, their number 9, Winks. Oh, that was a poor pass to Fatawu on this right side. It's a back heel from Alex Moreno straight to Hudson-Odoi. Lovely ball from Hudson-Odoi to Anderson. It's into Wood. He's got his back to goal and he swiveled and scored against Leicester again. Against his former club. Inside the first 2 minutes of this second half. 7 goals now he's scored against Leicester City. This one has sent that away end into jubilation once more. Once more it came from a Leicester mistake and Forrest pounced. Chased down the goalkeeper every inch of the way. It's released long and Wood trying to get in front of Fass, and he has! And he scored a second. It's Nottingham Forest's third of the night. A real defensive mix-up, as it looked as though Fass would get there, and then Wood got beyond him. As Hermansen and Fass watched each other, Wood with a lobbed header into the back of the net, and the celebrations commence again over in the far corner with those travelling Nottingham Forest fans, and they lead at King Power Stadium by 3-1 just past the hour mark.
And that is indeed how it finished from the hour mark until full time. I mean, we were all here. We all watched it, of course, and it was a disappointing evening. You were really disappointing second half in particular.
Yeah. I think first half, I think it's fair to say there wasn't much to separate both teams. I mean, Leicester scored a fantastic goal. Really good finish from Jamie Vardy. The build-up play down that left-hand side was excellent. Great ball in from Harry Winks. Jamie Vardy making that run to the near post, gets across his defender, makes good contact, no chance for the goalkeeper. I mean, we know that goals change games, and when they scored 2 minutes into the second half, that was a massive body blow for the lads, one that they never really recovered from. But I have to say, Dan, I was ever so impressed with Nottingham Forest. I think they're a really, really good side. You can see why they've gone to Anfield and won. You can see why they've gone to Brighton, which is a tough place to go to, and come away with a point. Went to Chelsea, came away with a creditable point. So I was really impressed with Nottingham Forest. But first half, as I say, there wasn't much to separate both teams.
Mm.
Yeah, no, we mentioned about all 3 goals, and many people have spoken about it, all being labelled as avoidable and highly avoidable as well. You know, there's a replay of the first goal. I mean, Buonanotte, what is he thinking really there? You know, dribbling past 3 players, attempting to, and then as it comes back across, another chance to clear, and I think James Justin's got sort of caught between 2 stools a little bit there, didn't know where I think if his confidence was at its fullest, he'd have had a touch maybe and then cleared, or just use his right foot. Yeah. I think he was a little bit nervous, really, tentative. It sort of stuck out and prodded a left leg at it, and it hit his knee, and Yates has tucked it away pretty smartly, hasn't he? But yeah, and you know, similarly with the second, there was a bit of confusion with Winks and Fatawu, wasn't there? And they turned over possession. After that, I mean, listen, it was a great finish from Wood, you have to say. But then it wasn't just in isolation there. You know, the third goal there, you could say sort of sum things up in the second half there. Bad starting position with Okoli. Could he have headed it? Probably. Could have cleared it one way or another before it bounced. Fass has got to read the situation. He's got to preempt the little nudge from Wood. Wood was aware. You were mentioning it on the day. He anticipated that. Fass was making it up as he went along, basically. And I think, and then Hermansen's made to look a little bit out of sorts, although I wouldn't label too much blame on his door in that instance. But yeah, it was softly conceded, all 3 goals. But as well as that, I have to agree with you, and in terms of like Forest were impressive, weren't they, on the night? Yeah. And you could see there was a conviction about their play in the first half. And it was like Leicester were doing their utmost to go and match that, and they did in the first half. But that sort of hammer blow early on in the second half, as you say again, and they didn't recover. And there was a bit of difference between the teams on the night, really. And that would be disappointing because you were thinking, Leicester right in the game, they're at home. Let's go and at least a continuation of that first half performance. If not, really surge onwards and try and force the issue, but never got going. Forest dealt with it well. They were solid and compact, weren't they, throughout? And Leicester didn't really come up with any answers.
Yeah. It was a good goal, though, wasn't it, Leicester's?
Great goal.
I mean, it was a good move initially. Good link-up play, good passing, good movement.
Winks was great first half.
I mean, he ran the show first half, didn't he? You know, he obviously would have been disappointed having been left out for the Southampton game. Came on, had a big influence, big impact after coming off the bench. Started and he sort of started where he left over from St Mary's, really. But he was so instrumental in the first goal. You know, little 1-2s. He does that overlap run down the left-hand side. And it's a fantastic ball. It really, really is. You know, he doesn't even look. He just puts it into an area because he knows he's got a centre forward in that box who is going to make that run across that near post, which is what Jamie Vardy did. And the contact that Jamie Vardy's had a great start to the season. What's he got? 4 goals.
He's already outscored his tally from
2 years ago. Yeah. So you know he's not really getting a break either. He is tonight, but he'll start again on Saturday down at Portman Road. I mean, it was a really, really well taken, well worked goal that Leicester scored.
Yeah, just having a look there again. It's the first time I've actually noticed what the Forest centre half was doing there. Is it not Milenkovic? Is it? It's
Murillo, Brazilian.
No, the other one.
The first one.
Is it Milenkovic?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I got it right first time. But he's read the cutback from Winks, but the cutback was never going to occur because the angle of the defender that was closing Winks down. So he's just come out of the space where the ball is quite clearly going to go. I don't know what he was thinking, but Jamie Vardy was the grateful recipient of that sort of error of judgment. But listen, great work from Winks. Excellent interchange. Vardy does what he needed to do and delivery was there. But poor defending on Forest's behalf in that case. But you can always pick faults in goals, can't you? But yeah, it was a little bit worrying. Not worrying.
So here, the front centre half.
Watch, look. So he needs to drop, doesn't he? That ball's obviously coming across the face of the 6-yard box. He's gone to read the cutback, but he's never going to get cut back by the closing defender. Yeah, does that make sense?
I've got a feeling he thinks, because he has a little look at Jamie's position, and I think he thinks that Jamie Vardy's going to run across him, but Jamie's clever. He doesn't because he's on the 6-yard line. Yeah. So I think Jamie knows there's so much space then to play it in between the 6-yard line and the near post.
I pretty much put that across blindly, really,
I think
isn't it? Great ball, great area.
Sort of said to him, "Oh, go on and put it in there."
Yeah,
which he did.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. But anyway, regardless, Leicester would be disappointed. Really, they couldn't sort of go on some sort of charge in the second half, or it was faltering, really, wasn't it? Second half of the.
They did miss a few chances as well, didn't they?
Yeah, well, it could have been, in all honesty. Yeah, exactly.
Hit the woodwork twice.
Could have been a lot worse.
One from 2 yards out.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't just about the 3 mistakes. No. Leicester,
but
I don't want to say crumbled, but Leicester folded a little bit.
Yeah, if you were looking at it from an overall point of view and look back at the 2 games previous, obviously Bournemouth at home,
the season,
Southampton
if you
away,
want as a whole,
and then Nottingham Forest at home. From those 9 available points, if you'd have said there'll be 6 with the trip to Ipswich to come, you've taken that, and I think, wouldn't you? And it's just, I guess, the frustration.
That's how I think Steve Cooper looks at it as well. It's over a broader spectrum, even more than what you've just said there, Dan. The season as a whole, obviously, but yeah, this 4-game period has been mentioned. Let's just say it's vital they pick up some points, which it was, and it is, and it still remains so. But listen, you want 3 every time, but even a point at the weekend wouldn't be the end of the world. No. Tough games coming up, though. You've got to bear that in mind as well. You sort of, you take stock of things. But having said that, regardless of what happens tonight, you got to go into Saturday thinking, fancy ourselves to win this. Like we will find a way of winning this game, boys. And you've got to genuinely believe that, because otherwise it's going to be tough down there. It's just as desperate as Leicester for points.
I mean, when you think away performances have been very, very good. Palace ever so unlucky not to take the 3 points with an injury time dubious penalty. Going into injury time at the Emirates, 2-2 and Arsenal scored 2 late goals. A great win at St Mary's. You know, the character that the lad showed to come back from 2 goals down. Joint 3rd top scorers away from home. You know, the lads are doing something right.
Yeah.
And they know they have the capability to win Premier League games now, which is a massive bonus, massive plus, you know, collectively. But they also know that despite giving their all as much and as often as possible, it's not always going to go their way because they're not superior enough to go and control and dictate games.
They're not like they were last year, sort of thing.
No. The games could go one way or the other pretty much every week, and sometimes go in their favour, but they hang in there and give themselves the best chance as possible, and I think that's pretty much as good as people can ask for.
Old Trafford is a northern game. That means Jerry Taggart has made the trip for co-commentary duty for us alongside John Dunn this evening. Jerry, obviously it's a ground you've been to a number of times, both as a player and as a pundit. You've won there, haven't you? And you've seen the win a couple of seasons ago during the COVID season. Luke Thomas with a fantastic goal this evening. Do you think maybe you could see another one tonight? There's a chance for Leicester against, you could argue, managerless Manchester United. We know Ruud van Nistelrooy will be in the dugout for them, but Leicester can get through to the quarterfinals of this competition tonight.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping so. You know, I've just had a fresh trim. I don't know if you can see it there for this game tonight as well. So I'm hoping that brings a little bit of luck tonight. But yeah, listen, you know, Man U, there's nothing to fear. Yes, there's 9 changes, and there's a few people who have come out of the cold that say the start tonight for Leicester. But the reality is, you know, there's not that much to fear here. And it's all about quietening the crowd here at Manchester United. First and foremost, and giving yourself the best opportunity to get the result that they want. It's not going to be easy, you know. As you say, Van Nistelrooy's come in. They're expecting to have that new manager bounce. You know, he was a big player here as well. So, you know, you're expecting him to have that. But, you know, Leicester have given themselves a chance by getting into this round, and it's a tie they should be relishing in the cup especially.
Gerald, Matthew again.
Hello, Matthew.
Hello, Sam. Been missing you the last few nights. Been thinking about you.
Yeah.
You sure you went for a trim? You didn't purchase a toupee down at the old barbers?
Well, I came straight here. I'd no product with me, so I've just like gone au natural, Matt.
Product.
No product to stick in my hair after I had a cut.
Tell times have changed, mate. With a big, rough, tough centre half carries products with him.
Yeah, just a little bit. You know, I've got to try and thicken it up wherever possible, and I haven't gone down the transplant route yet, the hair transplant route.
To be fair, Tags, get any product like that, drop me some, will you, please? Anyway, footballing matters. You mentioned there about there's not much to fear at Old Trafford, but whilst I get your point, there is to a degree as well, because it's quite a strong lineup Man U have got tonight, isn't it, Tags? How do you see Leicester approaching it? Do you think more than likely we're going to see them sort of sitting deep, even if they don't want to, maybe, and relying on the counter a little bit?
Yeah, I think, well, first and foremost, you've got to deal with their front line. You know, with Fernandes, Rashford, Garnacho, and obviously Xerxes as well up there. So you would expect Leicester to sit back and soak it up. And then, you know, hopefully play from there, break from there. But, you know, it's going to be a difficult night, but there's nothing to fear. I'm not saying in regards to, yes, it's Manchester United, and yes, you're coming to, you know, a massive sporting arena, but in regards to the team itself, the players that are out there, they've not pulled any stumps up this season, Matt. So
yeah, no, exactly, yeah.
So for me, you have to go with that. And you have to believe that you can get something out of this game tonight, even though it is at Old Trafford and it is Manchester United. The actual reality of this team is they've not performed. And who's to say that because Van Nistelrooy has come in means they're going to, you know, change that round overnight? I'm not saying they won't. Of course they could. But if you're in the side for Leicester, then you've got to believe that there's nothing to fear.
Yeah, we said pretty much similar Yeah, you got to approach it in a positive way, haven't you?
Absolutely, of course you do. Of course you do, and you know,
Back
yes,
yourselves.
there's going to be, you know, a bit of trepidation in there and a bit of anxiousness in there because of what happened on Friday night. But, you know, great opportunity, you know, and you know, for younger Coley, who's just come over to England, you know, what an opportunity for him to show everybody what he's got. You know, a few of the lads have already played here, but for him, he probably hasn't played here before, and you know, it's a great arena. You have to say that.
Do you want to do the final question, Matt, that you always ask, Jerry?
Oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry, mate. Yeah, mine was drifting elsewhere, thinking about our food at the break once the game starts. What's the munchies like up there? Tags? Lancashire hot pot, was it?
Mate, you've missed out.
Oh, don't tell me.
You've missed out. I thought I was walking into KFC, not MUFC. Hey, I mean, it was chicken heaven. There was jerk chicken, there was blackened chicken, there was hot and spicy chicken wings. They were fantastic. Little baby roast potatoes, homemade coleslaw, red onion and tomato salad. Oh, mate, super.
They've gone to town, haven't they?
Super. I mean, there was tons of it. You know, if I'd have worked here and I knew you, I'd have said, before you were leaving Leicester to come up here, if you were in fact coming, I'd have said, Matty, come hungry, because there's plenty of chicken to chow down on.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jerry. We'll let you go and get seconds before you're on
just got to make a call. Elliot, Kentucky, please.
Obviously, kick off at 7:45 this evening. Jerry Taggart on co-commentary alongside John Dunn. It's a good job you asked him a question. He'd clearly been thinking about the KFC and UFC bit.
So if we left him just dangling.
He's glad he got that one in.
Things have changed at Old Trafford because I've not been up there since, I think it was Sir Alex's last home game before he left. And because he didn't have the best sort of relationship with the media people, the food was never ever that good. It was a pucker pie if the pies were available. You didn't get looked after the way Tigers have been looked after tonight.
Yeah. Pretty good. Right. Speaking of Sir Alex Ferguson, one of his players is in the dugout in Ruud van Nistelrooy. 4 changes for him. We've already spoken about Man United and how strong they've gone. Jerry referenced it there as well. Will it be tough for Leicester, do you think, tonight, purely because of that reason? Will they be buoyed? The crowd will be buoyed for Ruud van Nistelrooy, do you think? What kind of effect will that have on the Foxes?
Yeah, I do think it makes it slightly harder what's happened earlier in the week with Ten Hag being relieved of his duties and Van Nistelrooy taking the team. For how long, we don't know. Obviously, they've been linked with Sporting Lisbon's head coach. You'll tell me his name because I've completely forgotten.
Ruben Amorim.
Yeah, it looks like he is the hot favourite for the job. I mean, they've had their worst start to a Premier League season in their history. They finished 8th. Last season, their lowest finish in a Premier League season. Albeit, they won this competition 2 years ago. They had a great win in the FA Cup. But so, Ten Hag, he did win silverware, but it wasn't enough. And for those reasons, with him being relieved of his duties, a former club legend coming in for at least one game in Ruud van Nistelrooy, I think the Man United crowd will be up for it. And I think the players will be up for it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know quite what's been going on in the inner circles of the changing rooms, dressing rooms, whichever, the training ground. But personally, I get the impression that the players were not being restricted by Ten Hag, but not necessarily overly inspired by him, I don't think, regardless of what tactical and technical things were applied or spoken about. I'm not sure the motivation and genuine belief was there. So I think tonight you might see a little bit of a sort of release of emotion from them, a little bit. I know that sounds poor from their point of view, really, like regardless of who the
a lot of them are his players, don't matter.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
True. I might be, barking up the wrong tree, but the performances didn't look very cohesive, did they? And they hang in there for the. He talks about Ten Hag about their resilience and their togetherness, but sort of like personal player pride sort of forces them into that, rather than being sort of structured as an outfit, as a team. I don't think that will change overnight because Van Nistelrooy's there. It's largely, it is the same personnel pretty much that has toiled most of the season, but I feel that there is a bit of sort of release of pressure, and they'll not necessarily try and make a point, but just there'll be an extra sort of energy about their game in the opening periods, I think. And then I think it possibly, if Leicester can hang in there, I think, let's say first half, get through to half time relatively unscathed, I think things can open up for Leicester. But that's a big but. That's a big if, sorry. If they can see it through, because there's some quality out there for Man United.
There's too much quality out there for them to be in the position that they're in my opinion.
Should be.
I think a lot of those players, and we don't want to go on about United for too long, I think a lot of them have hid behind Ten Hag. Let him take third lowest scorers in the division. Only Palace and Southampton have scored less goals than Man U. How is that right with the talent that they've got? Some of the players, I think, need to have a long, hard look at themselves. Hopefully they won't tonight, because obviously we want Leicester to go through to the quarterfinals. But some of those players need to look in the mirror, Dan, because they've absolutely not done anywhere near enough for their former manager.
Right, let's concentrate back on the Foxes, only briefly, because Steve Cooper was speaking in his pre-match press conference ahead of this game with Manchester United. I promise he does talk about Leicester, but before he does that, he's been asked if preparation is any different now that he's facing a Ruud van Nistelrooy side and not an Erik ten Hag side.
Well, it hasn't changed, because we believe that if we get our game right, it can have a positive influence on any game that we play. Of course, you have to understand the opponents and dangerous players and everything else that forms a game plan. But the biggest part of our game plan, and it's where we're striving to get to, is that our game becomes the dominant factor in every game that we play. So that's the change for tomorrow. I think that there's always context to a game, and the context to tomorrow is that it's a cup game, so we go from league to cup. Is that there's been a change of manager with interim going in, and that can add something to the atmosphere and all that sort of stuff. So we're very much aware of that. But it hasn't changed our objective. It hasn't changed what we want to do in the game, and that's the bit that we can influence. So I wouldn't say. Of course, it's a talking point, with a change in manager. But I wouldn't say it's been something that we've are overthinking or even spending too much time focusing on. We're more focused not on how we get us right for the game, because as I said, we are striving every day to improve, and knowing that when we get to the levels that we will get to, then it'll be a really positive thing.
How do you assess Manchester United at this time and the threats that they'll pose on Wednesday night?
Well, the players don't change, do they? And they've got real. Well, they've got real quality everywhere in terms of how they play, but they've also got players that can, as you'd expect, that can really sort of change moments from nothing to something, whether it be through the athleticism or the talent. So, but they're not on their own in the Premier League. We get that every game that we play. It's an away game, and that obviously can influence as well. So, they got good players and players who've got experience as well as some younger players and that know their way around cup competitions and certain situations. So we need to be ready for that. But as I go back to whatever's happened at United in the last couple of days hasn't really deterred us. Maybe put a bit even more of a focus on them. I think that's fair to say, because of the sort of attention that the club gets. But we'll just go about our work quietly and look forward to bringing it to the game.
Steve Cooper there, speaking ahead of this trip to Old Trafford. Actually, Ewan, the more you think about it, it might suit Leicester, because all the circus, the media, everything is concentrating on Man United, isn't it? It's how they do under Ruud van Nistelrooy first game. But for Leicester, no one's talking about them, I guess, are they? So they can go there and do their own thing, as Steve Cooper's been saying, and hopefully go and get a result.
As Matty just said to me while Steve was on there in his press conference, that it probably doesn't change the way that Leicester are going to approach this game under Ruud van Nistelrooy. You know, you would still expect United to probably dominate possession. So Leicester are going to have to sort of try and frustrate, get the defensive shape right, which I think is probably one of Steve's best strengths, in all honesty, the way he gets a defensive unit organised. So that will be tested tonight. But yeah, all the folk. To be fair, Dan, whoever's in charge of Manchester United, it's one, if not the biggest club in the world. You know, 99 times out of 100, the focus is on them and what they bring to the table. And yeah, they've had what's happened to the manager happen early in the week. There's a lot of talk, but there always is. There's always a lot of focus on the football club. So I don't think there's too much difference to tonight, to be honest.
No, I agree with that. I think, like you mentioned about circus stand and then spotlight, speculation, whatever, that's constant at Man United. Players are sort of hardened to that. They're oblivious to that, really. I mean, supporters, discuss it and speak about it, and the press, etc. But the players, they just get on with their own business, really. I don't think they've been affected by too much press speculation. If they had to, there might have been a bit of an improvement in their performances maybe over the last 12 months or so, really. But there's obviously things amiss, I think, at Man United. It's hard from the outside to put your finger on exactly what without knowing. But but in terms of Leicester's performance tonight, I think, while Steve Cooper's, I think he's 100% right in terms of having to concentrate on Leicester going forward and trying to make their game as good as possible in sort of as many aspects as possible. But they've got to, at the same time, they're going to have to be flexible at certain times and play in different ways, which we've seen already this season. But tonight, you're going to Old Trafford, strong team. You're not expected to go and dominate the game, so you're going to have to, through the week, you'll probably practice how to best work on the counter-attack, etc., sitting deep a little bit, because you can't always try and impress your way of playing when you're playing against teams of the magnitude that you come across in the Premier League.
Right, let's get a quick recap of tonight's team news. We're just under 20 minutes now away from kickoff up in the northwest at Old Trafford. Steve Cooper has made more changes than what Ruud van Nistelrooy has to their respective games at the weekend. Both teams coming into this on the back of a defeat. Leicester have Danny Ward in goal, Thomas, Cody, Akoli and Justin across the back four. The two holding midfielders are Skip and Samare, with Bobby De Cordova-Reid, El Khanous and Casey McAteer in behind Jordan Ayew, the hero, of course, of a couple of weeks ago at Southampton.
Sorry, no, I was just laughing at one of the things on the bottom. Good luck tonight, lads. We'll be behind you all the way in South Australia.
Well, it's great to see that we've got supporters all over the world.
Exactly.
Of course, I'm sure Bubba is tuning in from the US as well.
He's just sent me a little message.
Manchester United, their team, they've made 4 changes from the side that lost to West Ham, which saw the end, of course, of Eric Ten Hag. They've got Bayindir in goal, Lindelof, Martinez, De Ligt and Dalot across the back four. Casemiro and Agate are the two central defensive midfielders, with Garnacho, Fernandes and Marcus Rashford supporting Joshua Zirkzee up front for them. Right, we've been doing a lot of talking about Manchester United. Let's, of course, concentrate for this final 5 minutes or so on the Foxes. In particular, the team. We'll get it back up on the screen for you. Bilal El Khanous, Matt, in the number 10 role. De Cordova-Reid, we know, on the left. Casey McAteer, great to see him back in again. In behind Jordan now. Let's concentrate, though, on El Khanous. He started at Southampton, didn't he? Hit the post. Showed a lot of bright sparks and moments in that game, didn't he? The more minutes you see from him, clearly the better he'll get.
Seems that way with him, doesn't it? You can understand that as well, coming into sort of, obviously a new country, new league, new environment. Decent amount of money spent on him, but you can see straight away just how he moves. He's technically a very capable footballer, but it's just some players take longer than others. Sometimes there's reasons why, because the style of football that they're used to playing in, and then there's external issues as well, settling in, etc. But I think that's evident with him. But I think you can see the way he is on the ball. Technique is pretty good. That's not hard to notice instantly, really. Southampton was probably his best game in terms of influence on the ball in that first half. Despite Leicester going in 2 goals down, but he showed glimpses, didn't he? Or more than glimpses, really, playing in that advanced position. At the moment, Buonanotte edges him out of the team.
Are they similar, Matty?
Yes, but no, if that makes sense. I think Buonanotte's a bit more dynamic, and he's more about picking the ball up and swaying past a couple of challenges. Kanous is probably more of a link man, stroke number 10. There, I don't think he's going to be driving past and nipping in and out of challenges too
More
much.
of a Maddison type player.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, probably hasn't got that sort of burst that Buonanotte's got. More Maddison-ish, yeah.
Okay.
Although physically, he reminds me of, facially, of Danny Drinkwater. I don't know if anyone else agrees with that.
Just you, I think.
Batesy's shaking the head, says no. Okay, but not necessarily the same type of player. But yeah, you can see he likes to get on the ball. I think the more confident he gets, the more adjusted to his surroundings, the players around him, and the level of football. I think you've got a capable player on your hands there. You'd hope so for the fee paid, and again, it's more options.
Yeah,
for Steve Cooper, and decent options as well.
In that front line, it's a good mix of experience and youth tonight as well, with the likes of Ayew and Deco Reed at one end of the experience scale, with Casey McAteer, who scored at Anfield this time last season, and Bilal El Khanous in support of those. I mean,
it's not as if you're playing away at the Bescott Stadium like you were in the last round. I mean, you've got to embrace this. You've got to look forward to this. You're going to one of the most iconic stadiums, not just in the country, but in Europe. You've got to be really looking forward to quieting. Can't even say it. Quietening. Yeah, that's the one. Old Trafford faithful. You can't look at this as if, why am I playing in this League Cup? You've got to really, be rubbing your hands in that away dressing room.
You must have played up there.
Only played there twice.
Did you?
Only played there twice.
I didn't play there multiple times, but a few. But we went up there even back then. With the team that they had, right? It was the best, one of the best teams they've ever had.
Yeah.
We went up there thinking it was minimally fearful that you were going to get a pasting, but that doubled the determination to make sure you didn't. But most of it was excitement. It was like, hang on, we're playing at Old Trafford here. And you've seen the players we're playing against. Come on, boys. We are going to put a performance in today. One, we have to, because otherwise we're going to embarrass ourselves. But two, you never quite know. And fortunately, we found out on a couple of occasions that you can.
I tell people, we went up there when I was playing for Leicester in the season that Blackburn picked them to the title. We got a 1-1 draw there. Mickey Whitlow scored from a corner.
See, anything can happen in football.
I think Andrei Kachelskis scored for them. We scored in the second half, and I keep telling people, the point that we got there cost them the title. It didn't really, because we played him in October.
Well,
so
it didn't. No, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, it wasn't a title decider at that stage.
But Leicester have proved they can go to Old Trafford and they can get some.
They've done it, in more recent years. Nicked the draw in the Premier League season, didn't they? Big Wes got equaliser, didn't they? Obviously, however long ago it was.
Thomas and Soyuncu got
exactly.
the win.
Thomas,
three consecutive wins in 2021. One in the Cup and two in the league. So
a lesser team.
Not too long ago.
They're not doing that well now either, are they? But going back, I had them and beyond. So what a place to go and play football. Yeah. Just not just enjoy it, but be excited by it, be energised by it. And you surprise yourself sometimes.
Hopefully so. Yeah, hopefully Leicester can get the result this evening and get through to the quarter-finals. In 5 of the last 8 seasons, they've at least made the quarter-final of this competition. They've got a good bit of history in it. Of course, we've finally gone through a show without mentioning Matt and Tranmere and Wembley. So I've got it in right at the very end there. Coming up next,
Did I tell you I scored the winner in the semi-final?
Coming up next, we've got live commentary with Jerry Taggart and John Dunn of the trip to Old Trafford here in the 4th round of the Carabao Cup.